Operation Domination is underway. The ultimate game plan to dominate your NFL experience. With your hosts, Dan Mader.
But what's more impressive to me about the
Chase Thornton.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta get
Chris Dowhouse.
Get him, Chase. Get him, Chase.
And Adam.
No, not necessarily, but it's again the same.
Don't hope to win. Be great and dominate.
All right. Operation Domination is back on your screens, on our YouTube channel at FF Advice Network. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you do so and hit the little bell notification. We got new content every single day from this show, from everybody in the network, and it's been going absolutely great so far this summer. We're not even into the season yet. We're getting you prepared for it. Make sure you also check out Operation Domination, your favorite podcast app, wherever you listen, on the go. Great stuff for you guys to take with you on your jogs, your drive home, whatever the case may be. I'm your host, Dan Mader. We are continuing on our team profile series as we have been for the last few weeks now, and we're getting into the middle of it because we'll be talking about the NFC North. We had Bob Long on last week talking about the AFC North, and now we're going to have a great guest for the NFC North. We'll get him introduced in just a second. No Adam today, but we do have Chase and Chris in the building. How are we doing, fellas?
Doing pretty good, Dan.
feeling good. I got the generational ones jersey. Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. For those who missed the show a couple of weeks ago,
I had to order. I ordered it literally right away. Yeah.
We had Joe Pisapia on, and Chase had the slip of calling Jermichael Finley, as a Packers fan, a generational talent. We'll have to get into that a little bit later on. Chris, how are we doing?
Doing pretty good, Dan. I was saying, this is my favorite part of the season. A lot of times, this is, people, we don't have anything really going on. We think, but this is what you get the little nuggets, the little insiders tips. It's where you kind of find those guys that you're looking for, before everybody else kind of catches on. So this is kind of my favorite part of the season.
Well, yeah, because there's not a lot of news going on. So this is our time we can really dive in, kind of get into the nitty gritty with all of these teams and players and how everything shapes up. By the way, just, we're not going to talk about it too much today, but Ramondre Stevenson signed a big contract. That looks great for my ranking because I was higher on ADP going into it. So this makes it look even better for me. So Ramondre Stevenson, not too worried about Antonio Gibson after that contract he just got today. But we want to introduce our guest of the evening. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. He was the second-ranked Fantasy Pros accuracy ranker in 2021, the featured fantasy and betting analyst on the Vipers Network, BetSperts and Fantasy Points, the one, the only, Mr. Matt Donnelly! All right, so let's move to the wide receivers. Justin Jefferson, we love him. We know him. I know he's got to deal with the quarterback situation, but nobody cares. Nobody on this panel has him outside the top 5. But Chris, you have him at number 1, despite the fact that we've just laid out, we think Sam Darnold might beat the week 1 guy. So why you got him at number 1?
Look, there's nobody, everybody knows on this show how much I hate Sam Darnold. But one thing I have to give him credit for
Terrible person.
is that he is absolutely more talented than the atrocities I watched at the quarterback position for the Vikings last year, where I watched Nick Mullins somehow magically put up 400 yards passing week in, week out. I watched guys come off like Detroit. And I bring that up because Justin Jefferson is the proven commodity of all the different receivers. We project what we want to see from the other guys. Now, CeeDee Lamb did it last year. Rarely do we see a guy do back-to-back years, but when we do see those kind of guys do it, it's usually somebody like Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson seems to be the guy is this Vikings offense. He is the face of this franchise. That's why he got paid the money he got paid. So there's another reason that he also has weapons around him, so you can't just focus on a hunt all the time. And we also, the coaching staff knows how to move him around and get him open as well. So Sam Darnold could be terrible. J.J. McCarthy could be terrible. I'm not a fan of both quarterbacks. But they're going to complete at least 10 passes in that game, man. And at some point, 7 or 8 of those are going to Justin Jefferson, and he's going to catch him for 100 yards and score a touchdown. When I look at the rest of the lineups and the rest of the guys he's competing with, we have a lot of guys who kind of did it, could do it, maybe they'll do it, could repeat. But I know Justin Jefferson has been the man. When he's healthy, he has been the man, and he's been a top 5 receiver week in, week out for you in your lineup. So why am I not going to go to the well when I have always ifs, ands, or buts versus a guy who I'm just like, doesn't matter who the quarterback is, you're going to get the ball.
I mean, look, that weeks 15 through 18 without Kirk Cousins, Jefferson was a wide receiver 4, and he was on pace. I know this gets a little crazy, but he was technically on pace for 2,000 yards during that span for over a 17-game season. Just to kind of lay it out there of how awesome he was being. Another awesome receiver, Matt, is Amon-Ra St. Brown, who you have at wide receiver 5. Is there any regression we have to worry about?
I don't think so. Volume's going to be there. We saw what he did with Sam Laporta. We saw what he did with Jahmyr Gibbs. This whole offense is not going to change from what we saw. Everyone is still going to get their target share. Jameson Williams will get some deep shots here and there. What we saw from this Lions team is what we're going to get. And Amon-Ra St. Brown is that wide receiver 5. We want to talk about the big guys out there, the Justin Jeffersons. We want to talk about Jamar Chase. We want to talk about Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb. Amon-Ra St. Brown could very easily be the #1 wide receiver in fantasy next year in PPR. There's nothing to stop him from that. We talk about how good this offense is. Listen, if we look at his 0.7 fantasy points per route run last season from the outside, that was the 4th best. That was actually better than Justin Jefferson on a per-game basis, who finished 11th in that category. His first read target share was 35.7. That was, I believe, 4th in the league. And then 6.61 yards after the catch per reception, 11th. All these numbers. And I still don't think we saw peak Amon-Ra St. Brown. I still don't think we've seen him top off. We've seen the best of Justin Jefferson. We've seen the best of Jamar Chase. I think we've seen the best of Tyreek Hill and CeeDee Lamb. I don't think we've seen the best of Amon-Ra St. Brown yet. I think the best is yet to come. And I think this is the season. I mean, unlike maybe Justin Jefferson, I think Sam Darnold probably throws more passes to Tremaine Edmonds and Terrell Edwards than he does to Justin Jefferson. Those ghosts are going to be flying around. Jared Goff, I mean, Ryan Gosling Jr.'s doppelganger here. He might have been a liability playing corner for Denzel Washington, but he can sling the ball around in a dome. So I think those 9 dome games are going to be enough to make Amon-Ra St. Brown look pretty darn good this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with you. He's improved in his yak each and every year of his career. He was 2nd overall in yak yards last season. A lot of people don't think about him as a yards after contact type of player. And then on top of it, he was 8th in red zone targets. He's had a 28% target share or better. I'm with you. Amon-Ra St. Brown still could have best years yet to come. But now we do have a show. So this is over DJ Moore. We're going to have Matt taking on Chris in this one. Chase, you're going to be the judge of this debate. Matt, you got him at wide receiver 15. Chris hates DJ Moore. I say that kiddingly, but at wide receiver 20. So Matt, why do you have DJ Moore going right in there at the mid-level wide receiver 2 range? Oh, Matt, I think you got muted somehow. Go ahead. Take it from the top.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I probably muted myself and unmuted myself and whatnot. But Chris, how can you have Caleb Williams in good conscience as your QB7 and have his #1 wide receiver down at 26?
You're gonna find out. You're gonna find out.
I mean, you've got your #1 quarterback at quarterback 7, and you've got 2 wide receivers here at 34 and 26. There's no logic. It does not compute right now. It does not make sense. Here's why. DJ Moore is damn good at what he does. Wide receiver 15, 38% first read target share, 4th most in the league. 42.1% of the team's receiving touchdowns, 9th most. 15 end zone targets, even with Cole Kmet having his best season. Keenan Allen's coming in here. Keenan Allen, great pass catcher, potential Hall of Famer. Cannot stay healthy. He's hitting that peak. I'm going to talk about him a little bit later because I figure we're going to be disagreeing on him as well. But I don't even know if I need to make any more argument over you have a quarterback ranked #7, but you don't have him having any weapons inside wide receiver 2 territory. It does not make sense to me. DJ Moore is too good. There's a reason why they brought DJ Moore in for Justin Fields, and he succeeded. If he did that with Justin Fields, if you believe, I'm going to ask you this now. Do you like Caleb Williams more than you like Justin Fields?
In his offense, yes. Yes.
So why would you not have DJ Moore higher with Caleb Williams than he was with Justin Fields?
Because the weapons that Justin Fields didn't have are around him. Because of that Keenan Allen, and because of Rome Odunze, and because of Gerald Everett, and because of DeAndre Swift, and because all the different weapons that were not around there last year for Justin Fields to throw the ball to, where there was only one receiver he looked for. Darnell Mooney did absolutely nothing last year, so they didn't even look for the second receiver. I expect that not to happen this year. And then when I look at what DJ Moore is going to be capable, I think DJ Moore is a fantastic player. And I think that I think he's a receiver 2, borderline receiver 3, because I think we're going to have some inconsistency issues as the upside. I think by the end of the season, and I'm going to have to let the cat out of the bag, I guess, now because I'm getting blasted, is I'm huge on Rome Odunze. I think that's going to be the number 1 receiver for the Chicago Bears by the end of the season. I think by midseason, actually, if not beginning of the season. I think that's what the offense is going to be built around is Rome Odunze. I think Keenan Allen and DJ Moore are going to be the complementary pieces. I think DJ Moore will be the guy. It was a bold statement. It's why I have Caleb Williams. I have a lot of faith in Caleb Williams, but I think he's going to have a lot of different receivers in that top 25 options because you're going to have some different mouths you can feed. But I think Rome Odunze is going to be one of those guys who's going to be winding up being the alpha of the mouths that you feed in the offense. We see Tyler Lockett. We see Godwin. We've seen that second receiver when his kind of offenses not necessarily be featured the same way as that top alpha receiver is, like a DK Metcalf, like Mike Evans is. So I think when you look at those different things, that's why I'm not as high on DJ Moore, because I don't think he fits that profile, but I do think he's going to be a good receiver this year.
All right, Chase, go ahead and judge this debate.
Okay, well, full disclosure, I am much closer to Matt's ranking in my ranking. I have DJ Moore at 17. So I'm much closer to Matt's ranking than Chris's ranking, but I'm also closer to. I share the same concerns with Matt about his argument about how you can have Williams ranked that high and have his weapons be ranked so low. Chris makes a good point that with Keenan Allen there, with Rome Odunze there is talent to be had that was not there to compete with DJ Moore for targets last year. I agree with that completely. Keenan Allen is far superior to Darnell Mooney, and I like Darnell Mooney. He's a fine dude. I'm sure his mother loves him, but he's not Keenan Allen. He's not Rome Odunze for that matter either. But yeah, listen, he's just DJ Moore's too good. He's going to see too many targets. This is an offense, and I'm giving away a little bit of my argument for a conversation that's upcoming here in a few seconds. But this is an offense that is going to throw more than they threw last year in Chicago. If they throw more than they did in Chicago, I don't see much of a regression counting stats wise from DJ Moore, because he is still, even if his percentages regress, that volume of the overall volume of that pass game is going to increase. So I don't see DJ Moore's counting stats really taking that big a drop, even with Keenan Allen there to possibly take looks away from him across the field. So I am going to go with Matt on this one.
All right. Well, guess what? We'll have some time for revenge. Because now Matt and Chase have to face off over Keenan Allen's ranking. And Chris, this time you get to be the judge. So, Chase, you have Keenan Allen all the way up at wide receiver 29. Matt, you got him at 38. So, Keenan Allen missing a wide receiver 3 tier within your rankings in 12-man leagues. He was dominant last season. So, what's going to be the big drop-off in your mind with Keenan Allen?
When Keenan Allen is playing, he's as good as anyone out there. There's no question about that. He's one of the top wide receivers, one of the best possession type guys out there. The problem is he's not always out there. And that is, for me, your best ability is your availability. And we're seeing this right now. And I can pull up this numbers here. But in that year 12 to year 13, 4 wide receivers, there is roughly a 15% regression on the baseline of their PPR production. That's right where Keenan Allen happens to be. So he's right there at that regression peak. And now to go with Chris here now, because we're not arguing, there are those mouths to feed in Chicago. We just talked about how much I love DJ Moore. Those numbers are not going anywhere for DJ Moore. Rome Odunze, love him too. I mean, he's going to be that guy. I think he's going to be that number 2 wide receiver there for Chicago based on the war of attrition. Not because he's going to be better than Keenan Allen on a points per game basis, but because he's going to play more games, therefore acquire more points. And this is why I'm kind of putting the injury risk into Keenan Allen. I'm putting the regression into Keenan Allen here. I'm putting all these other mouths to feed in here. DeAndre Swift's going to get his. Cole Kmet, everyone's got to find a piece of that. even with that increase in passing, that's still a decrease in target production for Keenan Allen compared to what he had in Los Angeles. And we'll say what we want to say, going from Justin Herbert to Caleb Williams, even though some people here have Caleb Williams at 7 and probably have him above Justin Herbert is still the superior quarterback right now, based on his arm talent and everything else that goes into it, his football IQ. So we're going to see that right now, where I think Keenan Allen's going to have a bit of a regression. He's going to be a good wide receiver. He's going to be better for the Bears than he is for your fantasy teams. I'll put it that way.
Okay. All right. Well, Chase, you still believe in Keenan Allen? Why should we get him?
Okay, hold on. I'm sticking to my bar stool here, boys. I got to stand up for this one. Okay. Now, listen. Keenan Allen was wide receiver 3 on a half point PPR per game basis last season. Okay. I get your point. Your point about his age is not invalid. He's aging. He's aging. I'm not in the business necessarily of predicting or projecting injuries and injury time lost for guys. I think we have to assume health in order to properly project these guys. Now, you can bake it in if you want to say he's only going to play so many games. That's your prerogative, but we have no idea how many games he may or may not miss. We have no many games anybody could miss. I don't know how many games the third string, right guard for the Titans is going to play this year either. But Keenan Allen has never scored the kind of points in a season when he's played any games at all, other than the 1 year where he played one game and was hurt. He's never scored the kind of points that would put him all the way down at wide receiver 38. Okay. Wide receiver 29 last season had 168 fantasy points in half PPR. Okay. The wide receiver 38, where you have him ranked, had 141. That's 8.5 fantasy points per game in a half point PPR setting. Okay. Keenan Allen averages for his career 13.2. Even if we take 15% of that away based on your math, and I won't even dispute that math, if we take 15% of that away, he still hits 11.2 points per game in a half point PPR setting. Last year, 11.2 half points per game would have put him right at wide receiver 27 with Mr. Cooper Kupp there. Okay, so I think 29 is right in the wheelhouse. I think it's low based on his abilities and based on what he can do. And I already said, I said it when I gave you the win over Chris here in the last showdown.
Trying to slide that in there.
Well, he did the same thing. This is an offense that's going to throw more than they did last year. You can't look at the Bears last year and glean anything from numbers and usages and anything like that last year, because completely different offensive coordinator. But if you look at the Seahawks last year, they were not a great passing team. They were they were in the middle to lower middle of all the passing stats. They were 17th in pass attempts last year. The Seahawks were under Shane Waldron. They were 16th in completion percentage. Tyler Lockett, their wide receiver 2, for all intents and purposes, was wide receiver 33. So better than 38, not quite 29, but his line was 79 catches, 122 targets, 894 yards, 5 touchdowns. He scored 9.6 fantasy points per game in a half PPR setting. I think that Keenan Allen is much better than Tyler Lockett, even at his advanced age, nearing where I'm at. And I just think that there's no way he's that low. A guy can't go from one season, even with regression, going from 3 all the way down to outside of starting territory. I just don't see it, even with a rookie quarterback.
All right, Chris. Matt, go ahead. Good rebuttal.
Quick. So when we look at those numbers, I get it. You're putting these numbers with Keenan Allen as the alpha. When you're looking at all these numbers, you're not looking at him as the beta here, which he's going to be in Chicago. He's going to be the beta bear behind Moore and Odunze. So now look at all these numbers here. I think Lockett's a good example.
I disagree. He's going to be behind Odunze. I do not think Keenan Allen plays behind Rome Odunze at all this season.
All I'm saying is the guy who's judging right now has Odunze at number 1 on this team. So if Odunze's number 1 and Moore's number 2, that means Allen's number 3. And now you have to look at across the entire National Football League at wide receiver 3s and find out what their points per game is, find that average, and that's probably more realistic to what Keenan Allen's going to give you. Now, here's the thing. Those hamstring injuries and stuff, those happen in California. It's nice to recover in California. Have you ever pulled your hamstring in Chicago? I mean, that hits a little bit different. I mean, that minus 30, minus 40, that hits a little bit different than plus 42, plus 50 in the winter. So those injuries may take a little bit longer to kind of get yourself warmed back up, especially those soft tissue ones that we talked about.
As I said, I'm not going to predict. I can't predict injuries for anybody, though. I would have predicted injuries for Christian McCaffrey for the last 3 seasons too, but based on his history, I can't predict.
Go ahead and judge this thing.
Good argument.
No, look. I follow in the middle of you, both of you. I think Keenan Allen's the guy. I think maybe we could all agree with this. Is a guy that maybe is a good shot to take on your fantasy team. Isn't a guy that you have to prioritize getting, but could be somebody who could be a value. Now, where I have some questions, Chase, and where I'm going to defer to our guests. I think Matt takes this one from my book because I have more concerns. There could be the regression for Keenan Allen. I'm with you, Chase. I don't project guys necessarily getting hurt. Keenan Allen has a lot to play for this year as well. It's going to be for his career, basically, and his first last contract he's going to get. So he has a lot of reasons to be out in that field and push through that cold. So I do give him credit for that. But I do think when you look at kind of following the things in place, you have a younger receiver, DJ Moore, who sets up the profile long-term better for you than he does. You have a guy that he just drafted who profiles to be that number 1 receiver long-term, and over time, I think sooner than later. And then Keenan Allen, who I think is a great security blanket. I think he can fill a lot of different roles. And I think that's why he's going to be one of the more consistent, receiver 4 options you could have on your team. Where Dan, I think you're going to actually have a clue what you get from him. And this is where I think maybe Matt, I do like some of Chase's points is that when you have Keenan Allen in your lineup, I think it's maybe a receiver 3 that you know what you're going to get. Versus a lot of receiver 3s, you have no idea. For example, Dobbs last year, you had no idea what Romeo Dobbs what you're going to get from week to week. 10 touchdowns while I'm having a pretty good overall year, but what Green Bay receiver were you putting on week to week, you didn't really know. So I think when it comes down to it, Chicago's priority, so we kind of established pretty early. And Keenan Allen to me is a guy that you'll have confidence if you do play him, what you're going to get out of him. But I'm going to defer that. I think there's more concerns about what he can be this year and the priorities in total pool, I should say, and then also what he can have his age-wise. So I defer with Matt.
We have a good guess when he cleans all of our clocks so far in the showdown. All right, so let's get to the Packers wide receivers. And Chase, I'm going to go to you. You have the Jermichael Finley jersey on anyway. Which Packer receiver do you want at cost?
At cost, I want Christian Watson. I think you laid it out earlier. You said the same thing that I think we all kind of agree on. He's the one receiver in this offense that has special ability if and when he's healthy. And again, I'm not in the business of necessarily, predicting that he's going to get injured again. He's given us a hell of a lot of fodder for it, but he supposedly has that worked out. And if and when he's healthy, he is the one receiver, I should say, on this team that has special ability. However, I think all 4 of their top receivers, and I tend to put Dontavian Wicks as one of their top 4 receivers. I know Bo Melton came on and was awesome and fun to watch the end of last season. Dontavian Wicks is the number 4 on his team. All 4 of them, I think, could return value in, like, say, a best ball format. If you look at where they're going ADP-wise, based on, where they're being drafted, what the expert consensus ranking is, what my ranking is, which isn't too far off of ECR actually on most of them. They all outperformed that last season. And that was with half a season of terrible Jordan Love, pardon me, and half a season of Jordan Love being pretty damn spectacular. I think this entire passing attack takes a step forward this season. I don't see it regressing this season. If it takes a step forward and we get closer to what we saw second half of last season throughout the season, even if we split the difference between the 2 of them, and that's what we get all year, I think all 4 of these guys could outperform their not just their rankings, but their ADPs as well. So best ball, you don't have to worry about trying to gamble on which guy to start this week and who's going to get the touches this week. It's why I like Jordan Love better in redraft, but not in, I like him in all formats. But as far as the receivers, best ball is where it's at. Jump on any of them. If you want to take a shot on Watson in a redraft format, though, Watson's the one to take.
All right, let's move into the next question. I want rapid fire all the way across the board. And just talk about some of the younger wide receivers that we're waiting to see if they're going to be breakout years. Do we want Jordan Addison, Rome Odunze, or Jameson Williams this year if we have to pick between one of them? We'll go all the way around the board here. So, Matt, we'll start with you.
Oh, man. I'll go Jameson Williams here. Definitely best ball, but I mean, Odunze is right there in half in PPR.
Okay, Chris?
I think it's pretty obvious what my answer is. Dan, I'm going Rome Odunze. Look, I just want to say this guy's a special receiver. People keep blowing him off because we don't make Marvin Harrison Jr. what he's going to do. Marvin Harrison Jr. could get double, triple covered this year because Arizona's receivers so putrid around him. Chicago can't. You can't do that in Chicago. So Rome Odunze has a really chance to kind of hit the league, by storm this year.
Okay, Chase.
I'm going to Odunze wonk, but not compared to 2 All-Pro guys in front of him. That's just my point with him. But it's going to be Addison for me, but Jameson is really, really, really close.
Yeah, for me, it's Jameson. He's higher in the pecking order than Odunze is to start the season. Assuming he's going to be the second receiver, which it sounds like he is going to be. I think he's more talented than Jordan Addison. So I am going
in Gibbs
receivers. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about Rome Odunze might be behind the DeAndre Swift coming out of the backfield for all we know, frankly. So, yeah, no, absolutely 100%. He's going to be the second receiver. Like I said, ahead of the pecking order, Rome Odunze, who's got to fight through Keenan Allen and DJ Moore already right off the rip before we even get to Cole Kmet and DeAndre Swift on the other side. And then, yeah, of course, like I said, I think he's more talented than Jordan Addison from a big play standpoint. But